So I never know how to start these. So I'm going to start saying, I mean, I know you talk extensively on this subject. Why do we need safe spaces in yoga? And then I suppose then why is it that we do need them? And then what is what is that? What does that mean? What does a safe space mean? You start the ball rolling. I'll see if I can chip in anywhere.
So until someone feels safe, they cannot open up to the knowledge of yoga, period.
Sure.
If someone's in a fight or flight, they cannot open up to whatever it is that the yoga teacher is trying to give. So the first thing we have to do is get someone safe or feeling like they're safe. And we don't know what a student is going through. We don't know what their trauma looks like. So all we can do is do the best we can and keep the dialogue with the student and watch the student and see how we can use the tools in our toolbox to adjust or to kind of mirror back and have this dance with the student and try to create this space for them that feels safe. And then once they start to feel safe, then they can start to do the work.
Yeah.
Right. So we just pull out tools and then they decide, oh, no, I don't want to use that one right now. Oh, I do want to use that one right now. And then over time, they start to do their own work of healing themselves, but they can't do it until they feel safe. With trauma-informed yoga, there's this idea that when someone is in fight or flight, that they can't use their emotional brain and they also don't have access to their higher mind. And a lot of stuff that yoga deals with is very higher mind, enlightenment, yamas and niyamas and all this
pretty
stuff.
high. Yeah, fairly high. Yeah.
It's very high mind. And so they can't even get there until we can help them to feel safe and get them in their bodies.
Totally. Why might someone not feel safe? Because I've had the experience, even I said on a podcast recently, I was thinking back to a well-known yoga centre I taught in London, and I didn't even feel safe there as a teacher, let alone as I would never dare to go as a student, but even as a teacher, I felt it was a harsh, unfriendly, nurturing kind of environment. There was a certain demographic in the room. It was definitely upwardly mobile and affluent in a way that I'd never have been or was as a person, as a teacher. I didn't feel safe or supported there. Your experience,
That's a good point. Community is a big part of people feeling like they're safe. It's a big part of belonging. So definitely if someone walks into a yoga studio and they don't feel like they belong, then they don't feel like they're a part of the community. They don't feel like they are supported, and then they're not going to feel safe. So that can be a reason why people don't feel safe. They feel like I don't belong here, and the community is not coming up to bring them in and help them to belong, helping them to know what their place is, helping them to know that you're important, that you're valued, that we want to hear your voice. What is it that you need from us? How can we be there for you? And if the community is not doing that, then a person won't feel safe. And there's many ways that this can happen, and it really just kind of depends on the community, but definitely things like representation, like seeing people who look like you represented in the space, feeling that people care about you and want to know what's going on in your life and how they can use that yoga to help you in your life. I mean, there's just so many reasons why someone might walk in and not feel safe. And definitely this feeling of I don't belong is a big part of it.
Yeah. Do you think, how can we make that more inclusive? I mean, I remember talking to Wambui Raisman, I can't remember her middle name, and she was saying, it's like, I can go to a yoga center. I think she's living in Boston, and I can do it, but I have to switch, and act in a certain way that might be different to what I'm, actually, my ethno-demographic natural way of reacting. So I can do it, but I have to compromise myself to act in this, in this particular way. Do you feel that? Have you had that experience?
Yes, we call it code switching.
Right. Yeah.
Which is what a lot of people do for safety. It's this feeling that if someone can like me, it's part of a trauma response called fawning. So it's this idea that if someone likes me, then I will be safe around them. And
Right.
so what does this person need from me in order for me to be liked by them?
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's being like what is presented as the dominant culture within a particular space.
Right.
And so if a lot of people, when they go into yoga studios, if, in my case, being Black, if the dominant culture is white, it takes a
Yeah.
certain type of code switching, not meaning that I have to use certain phrases and smile and do certain things
Right.
in order to make the predominantly white people there feel comfortable. And
Yeah.
then that makes it so that I am safe.
You feel
And
comfortable. Yeah.
safety, yeah, and safety doesn't have to do, a lot of people don't may not know this, but safety doesn't have to do with bodily safety, meaning like someone's not going to kill me.
Yeah.
Safety is like getting your needs met is safety, right?
Right.
To people,
That's a
like
great point. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
feeling that I can get my needs met. And the only way I
Yeah.
can get them met is if these people like me. So what do I need to do in order for them to like me? And then it results in this code switching and presenting a face that is not completely you. And I had to do that for, I don't know, 15, 16 years. And it gets very tiring. And I couldn't do it anymore. I had to jump out of that.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is that without talking to people like you and reading certain books, I mean, like, as the dominant demographic, one has no idea. I'm not the queen. I had no idea that, this was the case. I mean, because you don't, right? I
And
mean,
that's the safety. Like if someone doesn't feel safe, they're not going to tell you. I
yeah,
mean, that's really, a lot of, some people who are in white bodies are like, well, I didn't know, and nobody ever said that, and I'm not hearing that. Of course,
yeah,
you're not hearing that. They don't
yeah,
feel safe
exactly.
enough to be
And
that
people,
vulnerable in front of you. So,
yeah,
no, you're not going to hear
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. And people have even commented on my post, they're like, I've never heard of that, or it's just like, well, yeah. I mean, but this work is, it's for everyone really. I mean, it's a question of education, not just, just for every person, right? And how do we go about that without simply self-flagellating, like, do you know what I mean? Because that's an easy response as well, I think, for the white person. Oh, it's my fault, I was guilty, but that's not, that's no resolution, is it? I mean, okay, you have to accept there's responsibility there, right? But then what do you do effectively to make the situation safe? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So first of all, see it as an honor if someone does come to you and does speak to you about this. It means that for whatever reason they feel maybe a certain degree of safety, maybe not. You might just have a person that's fiery and that's like, I'm standing up for myself. But sometimes it means that they trust you a little bit, and that,
Yeah,
it's an honor for someone to come to you and be that vulnerable with you.
yeah,
So if someone is being vulnerable with you, the next part of that is to listen and to validate, because if you don't listen and validate, then they won't do it again. They may
yeah,
stick around like I did, within the yoga spaces I was in for 15 years after being invalidated and basically just silencing myself. um, but that's not what we want. So when you hear these things, it's like, watch, listen, and validate the person's voice. So when we say stuff like, well, I didn't hear that and nobody's ever said that to me, it's like you saying to the person, well, you're lying. That's just your shit. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not supposed to cuss. That's just your stuff.
Oh, I think you can cuss.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just saying that's not a valid experience or that's not true. Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, yeah,